Hi, I'm Heyzeus, and this is another TradeUps guide, a slightly different one from usual, but hopefully it's going to be quite interesting nonetheless, because I'm going to go through a trick you can use to do trade-ups for more expensive skins when the inputs are hard to come by. So let's start with a hypothetical. Let's say you wanted to trade up for a factory new M4 A1S control panel and you wanted to make a profit while doing so, and it's a nice looking skin, it's worth a lot of money, the weapon has just been buffed, so in theory it'd be a great thing to trade up for, right? Well, no actually, in fact you're kind of fucked, because to trade up for this thing and make a profit, you'll need a bunch of minimal wear AUG random accesses and minimal wear Mag 7 core breaches, and you'll also need them in pretty good floats, which is a bit of a sticky issue because if we have a look on CSGO Stash, well, there's only been 13 of these random accesses sold in the last 24 hours, and the core breach is in an even worse situation. There's been a whopping 2 of these sold, so good luck finding the inputs you need that way. It's going to take a long ass time. But what if there was another way? What if you could, step by step, get the skins you need to trade up for one of these by essentially chaining trade ups together, all the while collecting a profit? Well, you know what? It's a good question, and let's just get started on a nuke trade up and see where things lead to. So let's just start with an industrial grade nuke trade up. You'll need 4 field tested industrial grade nuke skins and 6 minimal wear industrial grade train skins. With buy orders, and the prices here are buy order prices by the way, it'll be about $1 US or 85 euro cents, and the average float needs to be below 0.18, but you should be able to manage that without even needing to check. Now, in terms of what you can get, it's all weighted towards that Acheron. That's where you'll make the money. Everything else is generally giving you a small to large loss. The Deagle is pretty dire, although at least they'll be coming out in decent floats. Now, the trade up itself here is not actually profitable. You'll lose about 8 cents each time you do it on average, but that's not the point of doing it, and I'll explain that point in a second. But first of all, just let me actually do some, so I can show that I don't think it's a completely stupid idea. And we started off pretty well here, we got an Acheron, and if I just speed through things a bit, because I did quite a few, we need to speed things up, well, it actually turned out pretty good for me. I had a good run. I got 4 Acherons, 7 train skins, and 3 P90 facility negatives. Now, this was quite good luck. I more than made my money back on the Acherons alone. Normally that wouldn't happen, and I went and sold off the Acherons and the train skins. I don't need them, I want the money, so those have been taken care of, but this left me with the P90s. And that is actually what I intended all along. Now, just to be clear about what my plan actually was, it was always to sell all of the train skins, the Acheron and the MP5, but to keep the P90 and the P250, and there's 2 reasons for that. Firstly, once you exclude them, this trade up becomes break even, but on top of that, these 2 skins have another lucrative use in a different trade up. And the trade up in question is just the next tier up. We're using 3 of those facility negatives and exchanges with 7 minimal wear either sword or full stops or 5 7 silver quartzes. And sure, the last trade up might not have been profitable, but this one definitely is. So it should cost you about $3.50 US all up, and you'll need an average float of less than 0.1. The exchanger and facility negatives will make this heaps easier, by the way, because they're all going to have floats of 0.09 or less. That's another benefit of trading up for them. You'll get good floats. And in terms of profit, well, you'll more than triple your money on that factory new nuclear garden. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a risky trade up. The other skins all have losses, and it's a sort of trade up you definitely will want to spam, but it is definitely profitable. In fact, your average profit margin after Steam tax, and these prices here are all after Steam tax by the way, is about 22%. So it's pretty decent, and I think we should give it a go. I've got enough nuke skins built up to do 7 of them, and would you look at that, we are off to a good start. Now, I will speed through this like last time. The luck did not quite last for me. I didn't get any more Glocks, unfortunately. I ended up with 2 Pit Vipers, 1 Nitro. Think of the Pit Viper and a Nitro as an identical fail option, by the way. We're using the inputs for each of them interchangeably, and they're worth about the same amount. And I also got 3 core breaches. So all in all, we've basically broken even, and I guess that balances out my luck with the Acherons earlier, but not to fear, because we've suddenly got ourselves 3 core breaches with pretty decent floats, and we can use those to try and craft an M4A1S control panel. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you could trade up for the control panel. They'll mostly be risky, no matter what, but this would be the way I'd go about it if I had 3 minimal wear core breaches to work with. So we're going to combine it with 5 factory new line fishers and 2 minimal wear line fishers. This will come to a total cost of $13 US, or a bit less than 12 euros, and you need to keep the average float below 0.07. As far as what you can get goes, look, sure, your chance of getting a control panel is fairly small, it's only 11%, but it is a nice profit, and you've also got a 25% chance of profiting on the Cortex as well. Now, the overall profit margin here is a bit more narrow with this contract than the last one, it's only about 12%. Currently, everything is dropping in price on the Steam market because of the upcoming summer sale, and this makes all these contracts less profitable than usual. I can't really do anything about that, so I've just tried to make sure these are all money makers as much as I can, but I mean, look, let's just pull the trigger. So here we go, and yeah, you know what, that's good enough. $5 profit, I'm pleased with that. We're in the black. Let's move on to the next thing. Now, you can also chain trade ups together in a much more simple way, because that nuke shit was kind of complicated, and I want to show off a slightly more flashy way of doing things. Basically, we're going to switch to the Horizon collection, a collection that I've always had trouble getting the right skins to do covert trade ups for, and we're going to do a pretty basic restricted trade up here. 10 field tested restricted Horizon skins from about 32 cents each US or 28 euro cents each with a buy order, and with an average float of less than 0.214, which is pretty manageable, all things considered. Now, this trade up is pegged so that the Devourer comes out field tested. You can get a minimal wear Devourer instead if you reduce the average float down to 0.18, which is a viable, profitable, risk-free trade up, but it's much harder to find the right skins for that. So we're going to go for an easier to do, higher float trade up where the Devourer is field tested instead, which you're still profiting from, only just, but the Nightmare and the Eye of Athena will be enough to leave you positive. But on paper, you're losing money on this Devourer, except there's a trick you can use to claw back some of that loss. You see, this Devourer is coming out of the trade up with a float of 0.17, which is absolutely perfect for our next trade up. A covert trade up using Devourers and a couple of Xianglus to try and get a Neon Revolution. And all up, if you're getting these Xianglus from buy orders, it'll be about $31 US or 28 euro 50. The average float needs to be below 0.15. With those Devourers we traded up for, that's very easy to do, it shouldn't be too hard. And not only can this trade up get you some snazzy skins, but there's also some decent profits to be had here, particularly the Neon Revolution and the Bloodsport. You will lose money as well on the Code Red and the Neo Noir. It's a 50-50 split trade up, and admittedly the average profit margin isn't huge. As I've said, the Steam market is in a downturn at the moment. Try this again in 3 months' time and you'll probably make quite a bit more money from it, but you are still making a profit. And because of the way we've gone about doing this trade up using fail skins from previous trade ups, we've essentially made it possible to do extra trade ups because we don't need to keep our float so low, giving some of our profit margin up in order to increase the volume of what we're doing. And depending on the circumstances, that may be to your advantage, which is why I wanted to show it here. But anyway, we've got a trade up to do. How hard could it be to get an AK? It couldn't possibly go wrong, right? No chance at all. Fucking easy. Anyway, that is pretty much it for this video. If you like trade ups, maybe check out TradeUpHero because it's a site that has lots and lots and lots of profitable trade ups on it. So it may well be just the sort of thing that you're into. Anyway though, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, trust the numbers, not your guts. I'm Heyzeus. See ya.